This is Kim with the Abundant Life Tarot, and we are doing a deck interview of the HooDoo Tarot, at least for me, right? You probably, if you did your own deck interview with this deck, you probably have a whole, probably different kind of experience than what I'm going to experience through my deck interview. So I was called to do this deck interview because I just can't wait to figure out how best to use it. I'm really just loving this deck, and I love the box. It's a 78 card deck and book for root workers. I come to HooDoo as a complete novice, so this has, been helpful for me to just kind of explore and open my eyes and explore further and further, go deeper and deeper into my understanding. The deck is by Tanyana Lee McQuiller and artwork by Caitlin V. Foisey. And it's a Destiny's Books produced deck. Love this box. It's very sturdy. It slides out. Gorgeous guidebook. I'm going to get probably a tarot bag for this deck because I plan on getting to know this deck further, more deeply, and having to deal with the box will be quite cumbersome. So I am going to definitely get a tarot bag for it, but I'm going to keep the book out for a moment, and because we'll consult the guidebook from time to time with the questions that we ask of the tarot in this deck interview. But what I forgot to mention and really take note of during the unboxing of this gorgeous little deck is the card backs. So they are reversible, right? They are reversible. However, this section is the south of the United States. The south, we've got Florida here. Where my folks are from is like here and here. And then it goes all the way to Texas right here. And so I thought that was interesting. And it just, for me, drove home the point that this is a deck that really touches upon some geographical relevance to myself, as well as historical reference, ancestral reference, cultural reference. So I'm really excited about using this deck, as you can imagine. I'm just actually thrilled to start using this deck. I'm probably not going to edge it, although this deck would be perfectly fine to edge. Some folks who would even probably wish to trim it could just, trim it because it has just a tiny border, but I'm not called to do any of that. I'm going to keep the deck intact just as it is. All right, so I have my deck interview questions that I'm going to ask, and we're knocking on the deck, and we're going to ask the first question, which is, all right, please, deck, introduce yourself. Please give us a card or two. Okay. 6 of Sticks. That's the card, the introduction card. All right, please send a card or two to describe me. How does this deck view? And that's too many. 8 of Sticks. Okay. What are your strengths as a deck? What are your strengths as a deck? Two of Sticks. Okay. What are your weaknesses as a deck? That was quick. 4 of Knives. What can I learn from you? What can I most learn from you when I'm working with you? Courting the Lovers. Okay, nice. What is the best way to work with you? Okay, that's too many. Thank you, Spirit. What is the best way to work with you? Ace of Knives, or traditionally Ace of Swords. Right? How do you challenge me? How do you challenge me? Okay, that's too many. Let's start that over again. Just one card, please, actually. How do you challenge me? The High Priestess, or Miss Ida. That's how you challenge me. Okay, what is our potential together? How are we going to get along? Okay. Is this the Hermit? Dr. Grant? I'll have to check and see. What is the outcome of our relationship? And we'll any insight on what will work best? Readings for me or others. We have the Fool card, the Free Man. Okay, so my ideas on that. Nice. All right, so we've got our cards laid out here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can get all of the cards. Let me zoom in. Okay. All right, so let's get started talking about these cards here. So the first question I have is, please introduce yourself. We got the Six of Sticks, or traditionally the Six of Wands, and this is a deck that when you want a more complimentary kind of reading, when you want to be inspired, when you want to feel a little victorious, you want to feel like you want to find ways of how to champion a situation, this is the deck to count on. This is the deck to consult. This deck is going to, more often than not, produce some feel-good type of readings. This is a feel-good kind of deck with the Six of Sticks. So if you were wondering if this is more of kind of a good, well-rounded deck, it very well could be. It could be a deck for me in my practice that I could use with a multitude of different races, different people, different situations. It's going to be quite diverse in the kind of reading scenarios I can pull it out for. So the Six of Sticks is saying that this deck is a cool ally to have in my readings. So I'm excited about that. All right, so next up we have describe me. How does this deck feel about me, or what not necessarily feel about me, or how do I come up and is personified for this deck? And we have the Eight of Sticks, a lot of busy movement, a lot of things going off into the air, being shot off into the air, projects being in ambitions, goals, shot off into the distance. I've got a lot of things up in the air going at once. A lot of news coming in and out of my realm. So the deck is like, whoa, this person, me, is someone who's got a lot of fury, fire, energy coming in and out of her world, is how this deck is kind of viewing me, or would describe me. All right, so the strengths as a deck. Two of Sticks. The Two of Sticks is telling me that this deck is going to be able to help when we have to choose between different paths to take. I should say particularly in areas of goal setting, life planning, career planning, even plans of travel. This deck will be good for that, but being able to do some good contrasting work, some good either or kind of questions. So I really like that about this deck that I'm picking up on. Let's see. Four of Knives is the weaknesses of this deck. So this deck is not going to be the deck to go to when you're in need of comfort, when you are in need of maybe a respite from tough messages or a need. It's not going to be the deck that you can go to find out what's the best way to cope through a Four of Swords moment. Or like if you're sick, what's the best way to navigate a situation? Or if you are just either you choosing to kind of withdraw and go within, or whether you're kind of forced to by illness or injury. This deck is not going to be there in the sense that it's going to be a good reader for those who may not be feeling well or who are looking for health readings. It may not also be something that's going to be there to be a feel-good comfort to you in the sense of when you're not feeling your best. This is probably not the deck to consult. It is the deck to consult when you're doing more of like your life purpose readings, your career readings, your everyday general life readings. I get a sense with the Six of Sticks, but the Four of Knives is saying it's not going to be there necessarily for when you're going through these kind of Four of Knives moments. What can, let's see, I learned from you? The Lovers is about being able to make choices, to choose, having two very good viable options and being able to choose those two. This deck, like I said earlier, it's going to be good about comparing and contrasting and helping you to find out what choice is really for the greatest and highest good of who is asking the question. This deck could also is telling me that I could learn a bit more about how I deliver love readings in the future with using this deck. This is probably a good teaching deck for myself and for others. Like, I really get a sense that if I'm ever like traveling and I needed to take a deck with me and I wasn't sure what deck I could take that could be a good, well-rounded deck that I could use in love readings, life purpose readings, career readings. This, I'm getting a sense that this deck could be that. Intuitively, I'm getting a sense that this deck could be that based on this card even. What is the best way to work with you? We have the Ace of Knives. So this deck is about coming up with new strategies, new ideas, new thoughts around a certain subject, creative endeavors, lots of following intuitive hunches here with this Ace of Knives. And I get a sense that it's having more to do with like business endeavors or opportunities or career choices, or having to make, having to come up with different ideas and strategies on how to push a project or an idea forward. So this would be a good deck to consult in those instances. Maybe also if you are seeking love, new ideas on how you can, put your best mind or best foot forward with new ideas, new strategies in how you approach love. So it is a deck about coming up with new approaches, new ideas, new thoughts into a particular situation, or into a particular situation that I may be going through. So how do you challenge me? Miss Ida, I'm going to have to really draw down on my intuition with this deck at times. I'm not going to always want to carry the book around. I'm going to have to lean into my high priestess self and really consult the divine being and tap into my universal flow to really download the information that's at hand here. This deck is going to challenge me because she's not going to always put out the information so easily. There's going to be layer upon layer that I may have to delve into and go a little bit deeper with this reading. This may be a deck that I have to leave on the card table for a few days to ponder the messages, to see the different layers that are coming up and through the images and through this gorgeous guidebook. So Miss Ida is saying, you know, I'm going to challenge you because I'm not going to just give you a pat answer that you're going to be able to go off on your way. I'm going to give you some different layered information, maybe a little mysterious at the beginning on the onset, but once you start to understand, you will be grateful for the messages that are coming through. All right, so then we have, what is our potential together? This is where I was like, Dr. Grant, who the hell is Dr. Grant? Threw me off for a minute. There it is, the Hermit. I was right but I was like, Dr. Grant, what? Who is he? So he's the Hermit. So our potential together is one where I will go through periods of not using this deck and then periods of using it for myself in readings and really doing some soul searching kind of shadow work kind of energies I get a sense of really well. Also using this for shadow work for clients, shadow love work, if you will. Also, there will be moments where this deck will be on hiatus, where I may not be consulting it all the time. And then there will be times and periods where I will be using it quite a bit of the time. And I get a strong sense that because for me, the Hermit signifies the time period of like August 20th to like September 20th. That this would be a time that it would be a really good idea to start my tarot study of this deck, because I'll probably be wrapping up the Herb Crafters Tarot study group that I'm starting, and having like a little break between that. And then I wanted this deck to be the next deck of study. And that would be a good time period to really go deeper with this deck, to go into it and let it be the one and only deck that I'm really using and consulting, so I can really immerse myself into it and really get to know it a little bit better. So I think it's going to be a great relationship with the Hermit being a major arcana card. That also signifies to me this is going to be an important relationship that will be significant. That this deck will have significant readings for myself and the readings that I do for others. And then we have here, what is the outcome of our relationship? And I also wanted to throw in what's the best way to work with it. Is it a good reader for myself and for others? The outcome is that we're going to take a leap and see how it goes. I don't know much about hoodoo other than what I kind of vaguely remember my maternal grandmother doing. And I didn't even know that it would have even been something that she would be comfortable calling hoodoo. I just know that they had other little names for it, and it wasn't any of the names that I even have heard of today, that I'm not necessarily comfortable talking about just yet. I want to talk to my mom about it, but I recall when I was a little girl, my maternal grandmother was a devout Methodist Christian, but she also believed in very superstitious things, and she could also, she had certain gifts, and these gifts also were something that my mother had, and apparently something that I have now today. So it's telling me here that the outcome of our relationship is going to be one where I'm just going to take a leap and dive in and see where it goes. I may hit some bumps and bruises along the way when you do a full leap, like the full card asks or beckons for us to do, but it's going to be a worthwhile jump. It's going to be something that is life-changing, and I'm going to probably, for the most part, enjoy the journey, but recognize that I'm not going to always understand certain things, that people may want to from time to time educate me and check me on certain things. Like, I don't know if I'm going to, after working with this deck for some time, just dive into being a hoodoo practitioner. I don't know if that's going to happen, or maybe it will. I don't know, but I'm ready to take this leap with this deck and get to know it. And I get a strong sense that I'll be working with myself and with others with this deck. The way I just feel the kind of the energies inside of me feel towards this deck, I get a sense that it's going to do a great deal of good for myself and for others if I start to use this deck. That's my sense and my gut about this deck. So yeah, guys, that's what I'm getting a sense of with this deck interview here. I wanted to just see, I have the guidebook. Love this. I am going to be reading this like on the train when I'm commuting and reading it like a book. It's going to be a quick read because, I mean, it's more of a reference book, right? But I'm hoping that it'll spark some different insights, because I do plan to take a more deeper dive later in the year with this deck. I planned that all along last year when I first pre-ordered it, and I still have that in the works. There was one question. Let's see. Please introduce yourself. Sometimes I like to look at the guidebook to see if I see any clues or things that want to pop out about the deck and about working with it that I want to consider. Let's see. Meaning, so positive, victory, getting promoted, overcoming hardship, receiving compliments. So if we're thinking about this card, the Six of Swords with the question, please introduce yourself, we find that this deck is one that wants to help us overcome hardships. It's complimentary, and it's an encouraging deck, and it's also one that is probably good for dealing with ambitions, goals, and accomplishing goals. And let me see if there's any other ones that scrape me now. Oh, I think that was it. So yeah, that's just a quick deck interview that I wanted to pop on and do with this deck, seeing how I'm going to best be using it. It looks like I'm going to be using it for readings for myself and others. It's going to be one that maybe is not so much a deck I consult for self-love and self-care and internal healing, but more for ones that I do for more external situations, like how we interacting with our careers, or how our life purpose is impacting others, or love relationships or friendships. More of how we are interacting in the world around us is what I get a sense of with this deck, and I'll be able to use it for myself and readings for others. So that's the takeaways that I have for this deck. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the HooDoo Tarot in general. I want to know how you plan on utilizing it and working with it. I do plan on working with it with paid client readings as well as readings for myself and relatives. But I'm not so sure yet about how I feel about hoodoo practices. Because I'm not, I don't practice voodoo. I'm a tarot reader. Okay, that's what I do. I'm also a person who believes in law of attraction, and also I'm a student or a metaphysician of the religious science of mind track. So I, where I think that witches and my kind of line of philosophy kind of intersect is all about setting intention, right? And really, how do we get there? Well, witches get there working with the elements within themselves and around themselves. And I do to some extent, but I'm not really using a lot of different rituals or, herbs or things like that. I'm using my mind. So, it's, the same but different. And that's okay, because that's what makes us so beautiful and amazing and vibrant as a people, when we can celebrate what we have in common and also celebrate what we have that's different, right? All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. So much love and many blessings to all of you. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.